Hey there, thanks for watching. Today is Mother's Day, and I thought that I would use Money Mom's wonderful idea from a video she did on 10 things she learned from her mom. I will link to her video down below because it seemed like such a wonderful way for her to honor her mom, and I wanted to do the same thing. So here are 10 things, 10 life lessons that I learned from my mom, and I still take with me today. So my mom, let me see, she's still alive. I live with her. I've mentioned her here on this channel. She's wonderful, and I really try to appreciate each and every single day that I spend with her because I know that nothing is guaranteed, and I have a lot of friends who no longer have their moms as well. So I really am I so appreciate spending time with her, and the fact that I can see her continue to live these lessons out is just amazing, and it's something that I'm grateful for. I try to appreciate every single day. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from her. And the number one lesson, and the thing that she would always tell us as kids, and it used to frustrate me so much, the thing she used to say was, stick with the winners. And I would get so angry because I'm like, what does that mean? Why do you say that? And we talk about that now, and we've come to kind of understand that what it means to stick with the winners is to stick with people who bring out the best in you. Stick with people who make you a better person, who encourage you to use your gifts and talents, who make you more of the things that are good, who encourage you to be more loving, more patient, more kind, more gentle, more good, to achieve more things, to learn more, to be more, to grow more. So that's what that means in essence, is stick with the people who are the best influence on you. And I think this is a really wise thing for her to say as a parent, because if you are a parent, you know that your kids are so easily influenced by who's around them. And when she would tell us as kids to stick with the winners, what she meant was stick with people who are going to be a good influence on you. And that's something I still think about today, because I try to do that even still, stick with people who are winning, and not necessarily in worldly ways, like people who have the most money or the most successful, but stick with people who are becoming better and who make you better. So that's the number one thing that I learned from her, and she would certainly say is the thing that she taught us as kids, my sister and I. So the second thing I learned from her, and it's actually through the process, so the second thing I learned was to find value in things that not everyone sees as valuable. I find this is sort of an illustration in the idea of thrifting, which is what I do now on my eBay store, but really the idea that she can go into my mom has this talent where she can go into a thrift store and dig through a pile of like a 25-cent bin or whatever and come up with something that ends up being worth $200. Like, she just has a way of seeing the value in things that not everyone sees as valuable. And that's something that I certainly picked up from her. So number two is to find value in things that not everyone sees valuable. Number three and four are certainly big ones that I try every day to do the best that I can with. And that's the value of nutrition and exercise. And she is just a wonderful model in both of them, and has been a really, really great teacher in that, because she actually, when she was, I guess, around, let's say in her early mid 30s, so she had two kids, she struggled with really, really, really low energy. And there was a lot going on emotionally around too that was difficult for her. But she felt really sort of like down and drained. And where some people would have turned to medication or drugs, she really sought the holistic approach. So she turned to natural healing and really dialed in her energy, her diet through as a way to increase her energy, and it worked really well for her. So she tends to focus on whole foods, fruits, vegetables. She eats very, very little meat. She's almost entirely vegetarian. She's very consistent in what she eats. She'll go off the rails sometimes too. Like, we all enjoy, like, I don't know, a donut or something sweet, or sometimes she'll have some red meat, but that's very, very rare, just because I don't think she has a taste for it. But she certainly makes nutrition a priority, as well as exercise. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but my mom is very disciplined, and she always has been when it comes to exercising in any way. She would wake up, I remember being 4 and 5, living in Bethesda, and she would get up at 5 a.m. and go do an exercise class at the Y in the morning. And that's always been part of our growing up. And for the past 10 years, she's gotten up at the same time at like 5:30 and gone and done a hot yoga class. So she's very, very disciplined and consistent in really strenuous physical exercise. And that's something that I learned from her, and that I appreciate her example in so much, because she takes really good care of herself through diet and exercise. Number 5 is the idea of spiritual discipline, and this is something else that I always remember her doing as a kid. Is she would always wake up early and have her personal devotion time. She is very strong in her faith. I think that kind of grew over her lifetime. And she had always set aside time every morning to do her devotions and time every night to do her devotions. And it was part of her, like her hair color, her eye color. And that's something that I definitely learned from her as well, and saw the value of. So that's something I learned from her also. The 6th lesson I learned from her was the idea that you always just want to try your best. It doesn't matter if you're the best person in the room or if you do the best job, but you always got to try, always got to give it a try. And growing up, she didn't encourage us to be necessarily the best at everything we did, but she always said you have to try your best. So I think that gave me a sense of freedom in that, hey, I don't know if I'll be good at it, but I'm going to try. So that's something I really have from her as well, is that idea of just kind of giving it an adventurous, like just giving it a shot and seeing what happens. So number 6 is the idea of simplicity. She lives very, very simply, very frugally. She's not materialistic at all. Although I will say, when it comes to this is something really surprising. She's not like into designers or brand names. She knows her fashion, and she's a very fashionable lady, but she's not really into like acquiring things at all. So I remember one time I was talking to her about like engagement rings and getting married, because I had a friend that was getting engaged or something, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter, right, Mom? Like, if the guy how much the ring costs, that doesn't really matter. And she was like, oh no, it absolutely matters, because that's one way that a guy can show that he cares about you. And I think she meant it sort of in a larger sense, not like you have to buy something to care, but that's one of the ways that guys can show their commitment, is to put down a significant chunk. So that was something surprising. She's very simple and not materialistic at all, but that's one thing that she sees as a value of how much someone values you. So interesting that. So numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10 are really important and really interesting. And then there's one bonus, so 11 things. So number 8 is to keep your word, and how very, very important it is that if you say you're going to do something, you do that thing. You try your very best to do that thing. I remember there was one time I had committed to play in a group, and I decided that I didn't really feel like it. I was in high school, and I was like, I was tired or whatever. And she full on, like, I was like in my pajamas, and she put me on the phone with the director and was like, you have to do this. You committed to doing this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I think that she really encouraged me to see the value in staying true to what I say I'm going to do. The next thing she really taught was to, when you need it, to ask for help and to reach out and get help. And I think that's really, really critical, because sometimes nobody can do everything on their own, and it's so important to be able to have the humility to reach out and to ask for help. The next thing she taught me is just to do one thing at a time. That's all you can handle, is one thing at a time. I remember one time recently I was just really overwhelmed with everything I had to do, and she just sat there and said, one thing at a time, just one thing at a time. I was like, okay, like make a list, just one thing at a time. I'm like, okay, it's all you can deal with, is one thing at a time. And then the final thing is the idea of, so there are 2 things that I'm thinking of now as I'm like talking about them. The value of education and the value of ongoing learning. So my mom actually has 2 masters. She worked in higher education for 25 years. She has a master's in public relations and a master's in mental health and counseling. And she really taught my sister and I the value of learning and always learning. And I think that's so critical, is to learn and to never stop. Because that's what keeps you engaged and connected to life, is to always be learning, growing, and changing. So that's something I take with me every day. And the final thing is the value of friendship and the value of friends, and to cherish your friends and to really hold them close and to tell them, to let them know that you appreciate them. So those are the things that I've learned from my mom. There are more than 10 of them, and she's a remarkable woman, and I'm so blessed and pleased to call her my mom. And I wish all of you moms out there happy Mother's Day. If you are a mom, or if you have a mom, may you be blessed and may you enjoy your day. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll keep watching. Bye.